clan leader Yao Dan summoned the soul fragment of a Do Di, the legendary founding ancestor of the Yao clan. One could only imagine such overwhelming power. Even Xiao Yan, whose spiritual strength had already reached the perfect heavenly soul state, felt an unprecedented pressure. But the biggest question remained. Would even this be enough to stand against the NIHILITY devouring flame, whose strength had already reached the early stage of a 9-star saint? Could the ancestor truly save the Yao clan? Let's find out. And before we begin, don't forget to leave a like and write a comment to support the channel. That is the greatest appreciation you can show for these videos. The illusory figure of Ancestor Yao appeared directly at the center of the Great Formation. The endless passage of time had caused most of his remaining memories to become vague and fragmented. Fortunately, he still retained the memories of the clan that he himself had founded. Those incomparably ancient eyes slowly swept across everyone below. The moment Yao Dan saw the Do Di ancestor appear, confidence immediately filled his face. Although the current era was completely different from the ancient age, even a mere fragment of such an expert soul still possessed unimaginable power. The ancestor quietly murmured, "The NIHILITY devouring flame." The illusory old man did not speak to any member of the Yao clan. He merely looked toward the black flames covering the sky. Ancient memories once again flashed through his eyes. He waved his sleeve. Light immediately spread throughout the Great Formation. The black flames that had attached themselves to it and were continuously devouring its energy were instantly forced away. Yes. With a single casual movement, the old man pushed the NIHILITY devouring flame away from the formation. Floating high above, the NIHILITY devouring flame smiled faintly. "You possess neither your complete memories nor your complete soul. Your current condition is no different from that of a puppet. Yao Di. To think you have fallen to such a state. But that's even better. Once I capture your weakened soul, its value will still surpass that of 1,000,000 ordinary complete souls." There was not the slightest trace of fear or respect in his voice. He slowly extended a finger. That finger, covered with countless mysterious black symbols, pointed toward the formation below. The entire region immediately began to tremble. A gigantic black flaming finger descended from the heavens. It was so enormous that it seemed capable of covering half the entire mountain range. It ruthlessly pressed downward toward the formation. The surrounding space itself seemed to crack beneath its terrifying pressure. Faced with such horrifying power, countless faces immediately turned pale. The enormous finger continued descending. Just as it was about to strike the Great Formation, Ancestor Yao finally raised his hand. A colossal medicinal cauldron suddenly appeared above the formation. Its size was no smaller than that gigantic finger. The ancient cauldron was covered with countless mysterious patterns. An incomparably ancient aura spread from within it. The gigantic finger collided head-on with the enormous cauldron. A deafening humming sound instantly echoed across the heavens. Many of the weaker experts immediately coughed up fresh blood after hearing that terrifying vibration. Some even had their eardrums burst. Blood continuously flowed from their ears, leaving them in an extremely miserable state. When the collision finally ended, the enormous black finger shattered into countless fragments. The ancient cauldron also became far more transparent. The old man's illusory figure turned noticeably paler. It was obvious that he had exhausted a tremendous amount of energy. After his attack failed, the NIHILITY devouring flame became slightly irritated. "How many times can a mere soul fragment stop me?" He pointed into the empty air once more. The entire region immediately shook violently. This time, 2 gigantic flaming fingers descended from the heavens. Again and again, they crashed violently against the ancient cauldron. Several cracks quickly appeared across its enormous surface. Yao Dan immediately shouted, "Everyone of the Yao clan, pour all of your Do Qi into the formation." His expression changed drastically after realizing that the NIHILITY devouring flame truly had no fear of the founding ancestor's soul fragment. He immediately issued a stern command. At once, the Do Qi within his body erupted into a brilliant pillar of light that shot directly into the formation. Countless other pillars of light rose from every corner of the Yao realm. The enormous cauldron rapidly restored itself. Moreover, It suddenly flew straight out of the formation and whistled directly toward the NIHILITY devouring flame. Hun Huzi's expression immediately changed when he saw the colossal cauldron charging toward him. He hurriedly retreated behind the black flames. The NIHILITY devouring flame remained completely calm. "You possess the power of the Yao clan." "So do I." He casually waved his sleeve. The entire Yao realm immediately began trembling violently. Everyone looked on in shock as dense masses of black flames rose from outside the formation. At last, those black flames surged into the sky. Countless miserable screams immediately echoed throughout the entire realm. "It's the descendants of the Yao clan's people." Xiao Yan's expression changed dramatically. Those masses of black flames surrounded countless people who were burning in agonizing pain. They were the descendants of every ordinary citizen living within the Yao realm. The moment they were dragged into the clouds of black flames, Xiao Yan clearly saw their bodies dissolve into clouds of blood mist before being completely devoured without leaving behind even the slightest trace. What a ruthless method! He didn't even spare the descendants of the clan's own people. Xiao Yan tightly clenched his fist. There were at least several million descendants living throughout the Yao realm. Yet every single one of them was devoured by the NIHILITY devouring flame. The horrifying scene outside the formation was naturally noticed by Yao Dan as well. His eyes immediately turned bloodshot, and a furious roar echoed throughout the entire Yao realm. "Your Hun clan shall become the eternal enemy of my Yao clan." The NIHILITY devouring flame completely ignored Yao Dan's furious words. He slowly clenched his hand. A massive sphere of blood instantly condensed before him. Explode! As soon as the blood sphere expanded to a diameter of nearly 10,000 meters, the NIHILITY devouring flame waved his hand. The enormous sphere immediately collided head-on with the gigantic medicinal cauldron flying toward him. At that instant, blood-red light swallowed the entire sky. For a brief moment, it seemed as though everyone had gone deaf. Yet the crimson color filling their vision was undeniably real. An indescribably terrifying wave of energy swept down from the heavens. Countless spatial cracks spread wildly through the sky. In the end, the gigantic cauldron was completely consumed beneath the violent devouring power of the black flames. The remaining destructive force then gathered together and mercilessly smashed into the great formation. The Yao clan formation trembled violently beneath the impact. The enormous amount of energy supporting it rapidly dispersed at a shocking speed. The formation is about to collapse. Watching the increasingly dim formation, the hearts of every member of the Yao clan turned cold. None of them had imagined that the formation created from the combined strength of the entire clan would still fail to stop such a terrifying existence. Not even with the help of ancestor Yao's soul fragment. The illusory old man standing at the center of the formation quietly sighed as he watched everything unfold. He softly murmured, "This calamity cannot be avoided." The moment those words left his mouth, his figure suddenly rushed out of the formation. He transformed into an illusory beam of light that pierced through the sea of black flames at a speed exceeding light itself. In the next instant, he charged directly into the body of the NIHILITY devouring flame. Only a dull collision echoed through the sky. However, the body of the NIHILITY devouring flame suddenly shook violently. For the very first time, anger appeared in his voice. "You damned old ghost! Disappear from this world!" Black flames erupted in every direction. Immediately afterward, a horrifying sound rang across the heavens. It sounded as though a soul itself had shattered. The terrifying sound caused every member of the Yao clan to freeze where they stood. At that very moment, they all felt that something deep within their bloodline had quietly disappeared forever. Founding ancestor. Yao Dan stared blankly toward the sky. It was as though the faith that had supported him his entire life had completely collapsed. Under the stunned gazes of every member of the Yao clan, the great formation began trembling even more violently. Finally, a sharp sound echoed through the heavens. Then, before everyone's eyes, the formation exploded. The formation has been destroyed. Even the Yao clan's ultimate protective formation had finally collapsed beneath that world-destroying attack. It shattered into countless specks of light that slowly drifted down from the sky. Their gentle radiance illuminated the countless pale, hopeless, and stunned faces below. Despite exhausting every last bit of their strength, they had still been unable to change their fate. Facing the godlike figure standing in the sky, countless people felt only fear and despair. Xiao Yan watched everything unfold with a solemn expression. The dou qi within his body quietly began circulating. A flash of black light appeared beside him. The Northern King puppet appeared once again. Xiao Yan quietly stepped back several paces until he stood beside Yao Lao. At this moment, it could truly be said that Xiao Yan had encountered the most dangerous situation of his entire life. Even he was no longer absolutely certain that he could escape the Han clan's trap alive. Yao Lao slowly withdrew his gaze from the sky. His eyes glistened with moisture. Although he no longer possessed deep feelings for the Yao clan itself, that illusory old man had always been a godlike existence to every person carrying the Yao bloodline. Anyone born with the Yao clan's bloodline could clearly feel that something within them had disappeared forever after witnessing this scene. If something goes wrong, you must escape at all costs. The Heavenly Mansion Alliance cannot survive without you. And more importantly, you still have to rescue your father. Yao Lao spoke in a hoarse voice. Xiao Yan's expression changed slightly. He remained silent for a long moment. Then determination gradually filled his eyes. "Teacher, don't worry." After thinking for a while, he finally spoke those words. Yet even he did not know how he would accomplish it. Floating high in the sky, Yao Dan slowly stood upright once more. The disappearance of Ancestor Yao's soul fragment had left an enormous void within his heart. However, he was still the clan leader. He quickly suppressed his grief. His deep voice echoed beside every member of the Yao clan. "All members of the Yao clan, now is the moment that will decide the fate of our entire clan. The only thing we can do is risk everything to preserve our bloodline. All elders, fight beside me until the very end." The instant Yao Dan's stern command echoed across the battlefield, countless figures rushed forward from every direction. Not only the elders of the Yao clan stepped forward, even many members of the younger generation, their eyes bloodshot with determination, advanced without hesitation. They all understood one thing. If they failed to survive today's catastrophe, the Yao clan would completely disappear from history. Their roots lay within the Yao clan. If those roots vanished, they would become people without a home. Every bit of glory and pride they possessed would be erased forever. Yao Dan's body trembled as he looked toward the heavens. A gigantic pillar of dou qi nearly 10,000 meters tall erupted into the sky. Carrying an overwhelming momentum, it shot directly toward the figure of the NIHILITY devouring flame. What an incredible and absolutely breathtaking sequence of events. How will this battle end? We'll cover everything in the upcoming videos. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the continuation.